NASCAR with you and your family. It is a huge night tonight for NASCAR on ESPN. Following this special edition of Speed Week, we'll have the 1-hour Richard Petty special, which you saw back following the Hooters 500 in Atlanta. Following that, back here at the ballroom live, 2 hours of coverage from 9 until 11 p.m. Eastern Time of the 92 Winston Cup Awards Banquet, followed at 11 p.m. by our half-hour special look at the 1992 NASCAR season in review. Joining me for the banquet at 9 o'clock, as well as this special edition, Benny Parsons. Benny, welcome to the Big Apple.
Thank you very much, Jerry. How exciting it is to be here and see these guys be honored for their hard work they put in this year.
Things a little bit different here tonight than they were back when you won the championship in '73.
Yeah, about 15 times more money than 1973, but also a lot less pounds as far as I'm concerned.
Now, we've got some special awards to give tonight, and we're going to honor the top 10 drivers in the final Winston Cup point standings, as well as a phenomenal effort by our 1992 Winston Cup champion, Alan Kulwicki.
Jerry, I went by Alan's shop last week in Charlotte. I just wanted to find out a little bit more about the man who has become the 29th Winston Cup champion in history. The story of Alan's climb to the top of his profession should serve as an inspiration to all of us. His strong character and independence was shaped by a series of personal tragedies as he was growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
My mom died when I was in second grade, and my brother, my dad, and I lived with my grandmother and aunt helped raise us when we were younger. And my grandmother died when I was in 7th grade. My brother died when I was in 8th grade, so I really didn't have a whole lot of family. And I'm sure that probably had an influence on me, had an effect on me. Had to do a lot of things myself and fend for myself in the world in general, let's say. And if anything, you know, that's not the way you'd choose to do it. You know, you wouldn't choose to lose one of your parents or your brother, but in the long run, maybe it made me a little bit tougher and a little bit more determined.
His determination to be successful in racing was inspired by his father, Jerry, who was a top engine builder and helped Roger McCluskey and Norm Nelson win 6 USAC stock car championships. He didn't actively encourage Alan to be a driver, but knew from an early age that his son was headed in that direction.
I believe he had the driving in mind all the time, from the time he was a small boy, you know, when he went to the State Fair Park and watched Norman run there, and I think he's had it in his mind ever since then. In fact, I believe in grade school, I think they asked him what he wanted to be. I think he said he wanted to be a race driver.
You look up to your dad and the things that he's done, and my dad happened to build race car engines, and so when I looked up to him or thought that was neat, it was racing and race car drivers and people like that I was looking up to. And somewhere along the line, I got the drive or the determination to want to be a race car driver. You know, when you're a kid, you want to be a policeman, a fireman, a football player, all that kind of stuff. It ended up that racing is what I wanted to do, and I started racing go-karts when I was like 13 and just took it one step at a time from there.
After winning 2 short track championships in Wisconsin, Alan joined the American Speed Association in 1981, and in a 5-year period won 5 races, including the prestigious Miller 200 at the Milwaukee Mile in '83. In 1986, he decided to move south and join the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit.
I was swimming for my life when I moved down here. I wasn't thinking about the championship. I just wanted to compete on the NASCAR circuit. I wanted to get a ride. I wanted to be one of the drivers on the circuit. And there weren't any rides for me. There weren't any opportunities. So I went about trying to create one for myself by owning my own team. And we did well with that. And eventually I got offers to drive for other teams, but you know, not until I had gotten over the hump with this team, sort of. And, you know, by the time the offers really got good, I had too much invested in this team emotionally and financially to want to give up on it.
That determination to make it on his own led to his first win at Phoenix in 1988 and the unforgettable victory lap around the track in the wrong direction. And it has now led to the ultimate in stock car racing, the Winston Cup, which he won at Atlanta by 10 points, the closest margin in the series history. The road to the Cup wasn't a smooth one for Alan Kulwicki, but hard work and a desire to do it on his own paid off.
I could have said, all right, I'm done, and sold the cars and the equipment and stuff like that. But to a certain extent, I mean, some things are a matter of principle. I felt like I would have always been second-guessing myself. I would have wondered, well, could I have done what we did today on my own? And that was something it was a dream I wasn't ready to give up on yet. I stuck with it a little bit longer, and eventually it came true.
Benny Parsons, Alan Kulwicki's rapid rise to the top has to be an inspiration for all those young drivers out there watching and waiting for their chance at the big time.
Don't you know those guys that run on Saturday night that own their car, work on all week, say, I can be just like Alan Kulwicki.
You know, I know before the banquet begins, you want to go get a bite to eat, so I'll let you slip off and get started.
As much as I like to eat, I want to correct one mistake I made during the running of the Atlanta race.
What's that?
Okay, I said that Kenny Schrader would be driving a car next year sponsored by AC Delco in Winston Cup. That's incorrect. The Kodiak people will be back on his Winston Cup car next year. AC Delco will be the sponsor of Kenny Schrader's Busch Grand National car. Oh. Folks, I'm sorry about the mistake.
Two great sponsors for Kenny Schrader. Hey, save me a little bit of dessert, will you?
I'll get them both, okay? See you later, Jerry.
Thank you, Betty. We'll be back with more of this special edition of Speed Week from the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria. Just the beginning of a special NASCAR night right here on ESPN. Stay with us.
Speed Week is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Anheuser-Busch, who proudly brings you Family Talk. Let's stop underage drinking before it starts.
Hi. You know why Quaker State asked me to be their spokesman? Because I'm tough. And Quaker State is tough, too. Tough on wear, tough on sludge. And if you use Quaker State in your new car's engine, they'll guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years. In writing, Quaker State is one tough motor oil. So naturally they asked me, because I'm tough. I am tough, aren't I?
This is a test.
For age-old problems like these, Goodyear introduces a brand new solution like this. Goodyear Wrangler GSA. Goodyear Wrangler GSA has a unique triple tread zone that gives you breakthrough, all-service, all-season traction. Mile after mile, year after year. So if you own one of these, you need these. Goodyear Wrangler GSA. Then you'll know why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Citizen, 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 elegant citizen, citizen, elegant. Oh, his citizen, one citizen with lots of citizen, elegant, elegant, perfectly elegant citizen. We've got elegance.
We welcome you back to the Grand Ballroom here at the Waldorf Astoria in Midtown Manhattan, where preparations are underway just behind me. We're about an hour and a half away from this NASCAR Winston Cup Awards banquet. Well, the traditional NASCAR news conference was held here on Thursday afternoon. Some special announcements were made, some special awards were given. With more on the news conference, here is our John Kernan.
For the seventh time in his career and second year in a row, Bill Elliott picked up Most Popular Driver honors, an award voted on by fans. Another major award went to someone behind the scenes, as retiring NASCAR Winston Cup director Dick Beatty won the Buddy Schumann Award, an honor given to an individual for outstanding contributions to NASCAR. The announcement shocked Beatty so much that it nearly left him speechless.
Thank you very much.
Another major surprise happened during the wild card drawing for the final spot in next year's Busch Clash. Anheuser-Busch Director of Marketing Bill Braun drew Jimmy Means' number. The longtime independent campaigner wasn't in attendance, but you can bet he was just as surprised as Beatty. Braun also announced that the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series would change its name next year to the NASCAR Busch Series Grand National Division as part of a new 3-year contract extension. And series champ Joe Nemechek also is here. He took time out to reflect on 1992. Just a fantastic year for you overall. Just your thoughts on that last race and the way you wrapped it up.
Well, it was a tough race. You know, I have to give a lot of credit to my crew and also Bobby Labonte's crew, because he came in there and he did what he had to do. He won the race, but we did what we had to do also. We came in there. We knew we had to finish 6th, but I wanted to win the race, and we had tested twice, and we thought we had everything perfect. The car wasn't quite right, and it seemed like anything that could happen that day happened to us, and the good Lord was watching out for me, and we just kept, I mean, we never gave up, and you can't give up in this sport, and that's proof of it.
Earlier today, Richard and Linda Petty were named winners of the annual Myers Brothers Award given by the National Motorsports Press Association. And in other news, Race Time magazine readers chose for the 2nd year in a row Bob Jenkins as their favorite anchor and host of a magazine show. They also picked Benny Parsons as the top color commentator, while pit reporting honors went to Jerry Punch. Congratulations, Doc.
Thank you very much, John. On behalf of Bob and Benny, I'd like to say thanks to the viewers, all of you, for voting for us for that opportunity this year to bring the NASCAR Winston Cup events into your home each and every Sunday afternoon. Some other breaking news here in the press conference yesterday. Earlier in the week, it was mentioned that Andy Petrie would leave after being Harry Gant and Skull Bandit crew chief for a number of years to assume that spot at the Richard Childress Racing Stable, taking the position at the resignation of Kirk Shelmerdine. Also, it was announced the 1993 NASCAR Winston Cup schedule. And as you'll notice, only a couple changes for next year. The Sears Point event in Sonoma, California moved to mid-May, and the addition of one special event at Bob and Gary Bear's New Hampshire International Speedway, that coming in July.
We're here on the street asking people what they think about Leonardo's Pizza. Come on. Why did you switch to Leonardo's Pizza?
It's a great pizza at a great price.
I heard Leonardo's makes the best pizza. The shell is great. The taste is great. What is it that you like most about Leonardo's Pizza?
I just love the Cajun pizza.
Love the garlic and cheese.
Where was the strangest place you ever ate a Leonardo's Pizza? Bungee jumping.
In bed.
Leonardo's Pizza. Call them. Order one. It could change your life.
What kind of room do you need in a van? How about playroom? Workroom? Living room? And most of all, breathing room for 7 adults.
Wow.
Ah.
And for all that room inside, it's only 2 inches longer than a Honda Accord outside. So it's easy to drive. Introducing the new mid-size Volkswagen Eurovan, the world's biggest van for its size.
The biggest names in sports are on ESPN Radio.
Oh, well, see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'll only hold a grudge till I die is what most of the players say.
I'm closer to 50 than I am to 20. Eating some peanuts, buying hamburgers. You can do it too. Can I get an amen? Amen.
I want to do radio, baby, and be on and on.
All those drivers have one thing in common. They have been recipients of the Driver of the Year award, which started way back in 1967. And the 1992 award was announced earlier today at the Posh Club 21.
Entering the year, we certainly were doing everything we could to win a championship, but you know how hard it is to win one of those. And, you know, I think the only thing we did was just, you know, kept working hard and just hoping and trying to do the best we could every weekend, and it was enough to win the championship. But with you know, Alan's victory, and of course Michael did so well, and Davey, and you know, all those great drivers, to be voted you know, the best of the lot by the press, that's a very very flattering, that to be sure.
You, Alan Kawicki, both owner-drivers winning championships. Is this the wave of the future?
Well, maybe. There's probably a lot of people thinking it is. So, you know, I think it's the way to go. You know, there's a lot of good drivers, especially in IndyCar racing, that don't have rides for various reasons, and it's a lot of work, as I'm sure Alan or Darrell or any of those guys that own cars in Winston Cup racing will tell you. But when you're your own boss, that makes up for all the work.
Can you believe it? Almost a year ago, Bobby Rahal didn't have a race team, but he and Carl Hogan came together, formed that team, went on and won the IndyCar Championship, certainly well-deserving of the 1992 Driver of the Year award. Talking about the 93 IndyCar season, it's really starting to come together. This past week, some new driver, car owner, and engine combinations were announced. Here's our Bob Jenkins.
Robbie Gordon will drive for A.J. Foyt Enterprises next year with Ford Cosworth power. Gordon, who drove 7 races for Chip Ganassi in the 92 season, admits he's got a small advantage when it comes to Indianapolis.
No one better to learn from than A.J. Foyt when you come to Indianapolis, and that is the race of the year. Hopefully we can have a well showing there for Ford in Copenhagen, and we take the other races one at a time.
The biggest thing what we want him to do, we want him to drive for us for a long time, so we're not going to rush him one bit. Just want him to stay out of trouble and get some experience, but at the same time, if we can win, we want to win.
Italian Teo Fabi will replace John Andretti on the Jim Hall VDS team next year. Fabi last drove an IndyCar when he substituted for injured Mario Andretti at Detroit last June. And Kenny Bernstein has acquired Budweiser sponsorship for his IndyCar effort, which will run the entire 93 season. The Budweiser King will be piloted by Roberto Guerrero, who put Bernstein's car on the pole at Indianapolis last year, but it'll be powered by a Chevrolet C engine instead of Bernstein's traditional Buick.
Buick pulled out of the program, totally out of IndyCar racing, so it kind of left us in a position that I had made a commitment to St. Louis to Budweiser, and I'm not going to go back on my word. So we're going to run 3 Chevy C's, and that's the way it is.
I really like working with Kenny Bernstein. You know, whenever he puts a team, it's going to be good. You know, everything he works in a first-class way. Obviously, very excited to have an association with Budweiser. Everyone that I've met at Budweiser, they're all first-class people as well. So it's overall, I couldn't really ask for anything else.
And finally, Scott Goodyear, who finished second to Al Unser Jr. at Indy last year, will stay with Derek Walker in 93, but he too will switch from Chevy to Ford power. With more news, here's Gary Lee.
Thanks, Bob. Speaking of Indy cars, Rick Mears was on hand at Bakersfield Speedway for the 52nd annual Turkey Night Grand Prix. When you think of Thanksgiving, you normally think of eating tons of turkey or watching football on television. But these guys think of racing. After last year's run on pavement for only the second time, the Thanksgiving night tradition was back on dirt.
Well, we had a lot of fun at Saugus, but I think Turkey Night really deserves to be on dirt, and it's sort of a tradition to be on dirt, so I'm glad to be here. I wish it was Ascot. You know, we really missed that place, but this definitely isn't a bad track to have this race.
And the dirt saw plenty of action. In the first last chance race, Kent Bowser ran over the back of Ricky Gray, flipped, and landed on his side. Bowser was unhurt. And later, it was Tice Carlson who got the short end of the wishbone when he and Terry Farrar made contact, sending Carlson into pirouettes until finally landing on all 4 wheels. In the feature, 2-time defending champion Stan Fox started on the pole and led the first 12 laps until Sleepy Tripp got past. Tripp, who has won practically everything in midgets but Turkey Night, lost the lead to Jimmy Sills, who looked like he would gobble up the rest of the event. But on lap 85, Sills pushed it just a little too hard and flipped, ending his chances. That left it up to Tony Elliott, Ron Schumann, and Leland McSpadden to battle it out for the win. McSpadden would eventually spin, leaving it a 2-car race. Schumann passed Elliott for good with 5 laps to go to record his 7th Turkey Night victory.
Thanks, Gary. The top 5 finishers at the Turkey Night Grand Prix. Schumann, Tony Elliott finished second in the national points. Champion Stevie Reeves was third, followed by Hank Butcher and Chuck Gurney. And here are the top 5 in the USAC National Midget Series at El Centro. Back with more Speed Week after this.
prices you can afford. You'll find it all at your Christmas electronics store.
Welcome back to this special edition of Speed Week, coming to you live from the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria, where we were just a little over an hour away from beginning the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Awards Banquet. You know, Davey Allison had an emotional year, up and down. He led the points for the majority of the year, ended up finishing third following Atlanta. Our John Kernan is roaming the halls trying to find Davey as he heads toward the banquet. John?
Well, Jerry, it seems like we've been wandering the halls of the Waldorf this afternoon for several hours. This place is just incredible with all the rooms and all the people. Right now we're looking for Davey Allison. I believe his room's over around this way. And Davey, what's the matter? You look lost.
I am, man. It's an hour before the banquet. Got to get my tux on. I'm running late, and I can't find my room.
Well, I know you're in a push for time, but you got a few moments here to talk to us here for Speed Week.
Yeah, sure. I can talk to you guys anytime.
Let's talk about the year just completed. I know it got to be disappointing that you didn't win the championship, but still a great season.
Well, it was a great season for us. You know, we won 5 races, and for the things that we went through this year, to still be in the hunt for the championship at the end of the season was, you know, was pretty good representative of how hard our team worked, and we feel like that the season turned out pretty good for us.
I guess personally, emotionally, you had to mature a lot this year, maybe more so than any other season.
Well, there's some tough things that we went through. You know, there's some memories that are going to be tough to remember of my grandfather and the loss of my brother. But the fans supported us. We've got a tough, great race team, and our family is really strong, and they support us good. And, you know, because of all that, it helped us get through the trying times, and we're just excited now. Glad the season's over in a way, but we're looking forward to 1993.
Yeah, speaking of 1993, how much stronger do you think you guys are going to be next year after the experiences you've had this year?
Well, we're going to start the race season off with a lot more race cars than we did last year, so maybe that'll be an advantage for us. We feel like we learned a lot at the end of the season, and we really feel like the same opportunities are out there for 1993 that were there for 1992.
I think Darrell Waltrip said a few years ago that you have to lose the championship first before you can win one. What do you think about that?
Tell Alan Kowicki that. I want to see him answer that one.
Yeah, but what about you? Do you think next year that you'll be in the same position where you can run for the title?
Well, I sure hope so. I think our team has the right kind of stuff to get the job done, and we definitely have the determination. We're going to go out there and work hard for it.
Okay, now to the important question. At Atlanta, you said you were going up to Canada to do some hunting. How did that turn out?
Didn't get to go. Liz and I are building a new house, and there were some loose ends that needed to be tied up, and I needed some time to get my head cleared out. And I've been sitting in the woods down in Alabama doing some deer hunting, and she's been working at the house with the builders and everybody else over there. So it's still, I've had a good time. I've had too much time off. I'm ready to go back to work.
Yeah, I guess maybe those cab drivers out there, the way that they drive in the road kind of made you feel like you wanted to get back in a race car,
Let me tell you something. I've seen some rough driving in some places, but nothing matches the streets of New York City.
Okay, Davey, thank you very much. I believe that Benny Parsons is also wandering the halls looking for drivers. Let's check in with him.
Hey, John, I checked. Darrell Waltrip's ready to go. Let's see. Now, this is Terry Labonte's room. Let's see if he's ready. You ready to go?
Hey, Benny, yeah, I'm ready.
Well, hey, let me see what the 8th place finisher's room looks like, okay?
Sure, just come on in.
Last year, I went up to Earnhardt's room, the champion's suite. Don't resemble this.
No, it doesn't, but, you know, he was the champion, and this is 8th place, so, I mean, you know, there's a little difference in money there, and his suite's a little nicer than ours.
But all in all, it wasn't a bad year for you, was it?
No, it really wasn't. You know, I'll tell you what, if you can finish in the top 10 today, it's a pretty good season. The competition's so tough. We weren't in the top 10 last year, and you know, by being back in it, I think it was a big improvement for our team, so we're pretty excited about it.
Last year you tried Chevrolets, Fords. Next year you're going to stick strictly with Chevrolets, right?
Just Chevrolets. Kellogg's Chevrolets.
Kellogg's Cornflakes.
That's right.
You look like an all-American boy.
Better eat your cornflakes.
And next year your brother is... Yeah, I've been eating way too many cornflakes. Your brother going to be racing in the Winston Cup?
Yeah, he is. He's got a good deal with Bill Davis. And he's pretty excited about it. You know, it'll be his first year in Winston Cup. I think he'll probably should do pretty good. He's got a good team.
Where's Kim? I mean,
she's getting ready.
Kim, come on. Hey, Jerry, as soon as we get Kim out of the bathroom, we'll be on, okay?
Thank you very much, guys, for roaming the halls. You know, what a great year Terry Labonte had in that Billy Hagan race team, and what a gentleman is Davey Allison. Even in defeat, look for him to be a contender next year. Well, plenty of action to come your way here tonight in this special edition of Speed Week. Get your pencil ready. Here are our Air Force Reserve airtime.
At Ford, when we test technology, we go by the book. This book, it takes us places that make our Ford trucks even tougher and make our performance for the street even better. Because the more we race, the more we learn. And no one races in more places than Ford. We test our ideas all over the world to make driving better for you at home. Have you driven a Ford lately?
In our form of racing, it takes about 5,000 horsepower to go from a dead stop to 285 miles an hour in less than 5 seconds. And even under those loads, the oil film holds up. I've been using Pennzoil for over 30 years now, and I've never had a lubrication problem. Well, I would highly recommend Pennzoil to other people. Yeah, it's sure worked good for me. Every record I've ever set in my life has been on Pennzoil. Performance, protection, quality. That's what Pennzoil means to me.
Citizen, 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 elegant citizen, citizen, elegant. Oh, his citizen, citizen, one citizen with lots of citizen, elegant, elegant, perfectly elegant citizen. We've got elegance.
Wall-to-wall basketball action Saturday. Connecticut faces NC State. Georgia Tech beats Kentucky. Houston battles DePaul, and Oklahoma State up against California. Live Saturday. ESPN.
We welcome you back to this special edition of Speed Week, coming to you live from the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria in Midtown Manhattan. What an incredible year just completed the 1992 Winston Cup season. Who would have believed the closest point battle in modern Winston Cup history? 6 different drivers battling down to the wire, 6 drivers winning over $1 million. A lot of special awards to be given out here in just about an hour, right here in the ballroom. Coming up next, our Richard Petty's feature, a 1-hour special. Get the hankies handy. It is an emotional feature. Many of you saw it, including the Hooters 500 in Atlanta. Well, lots of activities coming your way, NASCAR style on ESPN here tonight. For Benny Parsons and John Kernan, I'm Jerry Punt saying so long for now from the Waldorf. Remember, we'll be back at 9 o'clock. See you then.
That Hooters team is hard to beat. Country style.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas! Congratulations, Alex, 1992 Winston Cup champion. Ho, ho, Merry Christmas! Who's Alex?
What a race weekend. Like so many others, and yet like no other. The familiar crowds, everyone seeking an autograph, an endless chain of ceremonies, and the occasional special dedication. And to cap it all, the big race itself, starring as always, the King, Richard Petty. November 15th, 1992, Richard saddled up old number 43 for the 1185th time. But this time, it's different. The career that spanned the generations ends here. Imagine the memories this last time in the cockpit that was his sole sanctuary from crowds and cameras. And now, the memories. Tonight, we recognize the ultimate achievement of the human spirit.
and we pay tribute to dreamers, kings, and champions. Live from the Waldorf Astoria Grand Ballroom in New York City, welcome to the 44th Annual NASCAR Winston Cup Awards Banquet.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, and welcome to the Grand Ballroom here at the Waldorf Astoria for the 44th Annual Winston Cup Series Awards Banquet. Now, Bob Jenkins, our usual host, is back in Indianapolis due to family illness. We at ESPN are pleased for the third consecutive year to be able to bring you live this most special of all NASCAR nights here, the season-ending awards banquet. And as usual, I'll be joined by a former Winston Cup Series champion, Benny Parsons. And Benny, before we start, I think we both should be congratulated.
For what?
For the third year in a row, we both fit into our tuxedos.
Not too easy, though. Don't ask me to button this, baby, I'll tell you that.
I tell you, it's a special night here. Everyone dressed to the nines. So much money to be able to be given away here, over $2.5 million. I'm ready.
What a great season we had in 1992 in NASCAR racing, and what a great final race. Can you believe that Hooters 500? A fantastic race.
Well, what a better way to begin the evening than with the most special award in all of NASCAR, the Bill France Award of Excellence. Let's go down stateside to Barney Hall. Barney?
Thanks, Jerry, and welcome to our ESPN television audience to the NASCAR Winston Cup Awards Banquet. To present our next award, the NASCAR Award of Excellence, one of the highest awards of the evening, I would like to present the president of NASCAR, Bill France, Jr.
Thank you, Barney. One of the great traditions my father established is the NASCAR Award of Excellence. For 40 years, this prestigious honor has recognized those who have distinguished themselves as an important part of the NASCAR heritage. Some of the finest people in our sport quietly go above and beyond the call of duty on a daily basis. Their commitments to NASCAR contributes to our success. Through untiring efforts, they become part of the fabric of our sport. The people who exemplify the spirit of NASCAR's Award of Excellence are some of those who have received it. Richard Petty, Bobby Allison, Benny Phillips, the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, just to name a few. Their achievements and contributions in NASCAR racing are truly great. Our 1992 recipient has quietly devoted himself to NASCAR racing. Although he works behind the scenes, there's not a champion in this room who doesn't know him and regard him with high esteem. When you think of NASCAR racing, you think of great competition. Talented drivers and cars that are close and equal. Races where just about anyone can win. Parity just doesn't happen. It takes a team of dedicated people making sure everyone is on what we'd like to call a level playing field. Keeping that field level is as difficult as any job in sports. All the competitors here tonight would be the first to tell you that one man's direction the past 12 years has been a big reason our field has been level. I think everyone here will agree no one has contributed more and worked harder to make NASCAR racing the most competitive and most exciting in the world. He is just as much a part of NASCAR racing as NASCAR is a part of him. And I don't know of anyone who is so anxious for the next work day to come that he goes to bed at 7 o'clock at night just so he can get up at 4:30 in the morning to get back to work. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present the 1992 NASCAR Award of Excellence to one Mr. Dick Beatty.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We should be clapping you. you're the people that makes NASCAR Winston Cup racing. But I do appreciate the award more than I can ever say. You're big.
An emotional Dick Beatty, Benny. After 34 years this man has given to the sport, I mean, what an appropriate award.
He has given everything he's had for the last 12 years. There's not been anybody that's done more for racing than Dick Beatty.
I agree. This 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Series Awards banquet is being brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that fresh, pure, natural taste, nothing beats a Bud. Back to the Waldorf after this.
You know, I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quaker State. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quaker State and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is One Tough Motor Oil.
This season, Bill Elliott's doing something he's never done before. He's driving the 670 horsepower Budweiser Thunderbird. But only after Junior says it's okay.
It is the first experience of real life. Never again will she be less concerned with fashion or more concerned with comfort. In her own small way, she's learning that the happiest moments in life are spent in comfortable clothes, which is why we will cross her path many, many more times. Fruit of the Loom. Clothes for the best of your life.
We welcome you back to the festivities here at the NASCAR Winston Cup Awards banquet. Next up, our Manufacturers Award. Here's Barney Hall.
Award that is coveted by American auto manufacturers as a symbol of outstanding achievement in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. To present this award, please welcome the NASCAR Vice President for Competition, Mr. Les Richter.
Thank you, Barney, and ladies and gentlemen. One of the appeals of NASCAR Winston Cup racing today is the fact that those cars that you see on the speedways and the raceways across America every week are the same type of cars that you see in the driveways every day. The involvement and participation of American automobile manufacturers has been good for NASCAR. And we'd like to think that NASCAR-type racing has been good for the American automobile manufacturers. The NASCAR Manufacturers Championship is one of the most highly coveted awards in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. And again this year, one of the most competitive in NASCAR's history, there was terrific competition between Ford's Thunderbird, Chevrolet's Lumina, Pontiac's Grand Prix, and Oldsmobile's Cutlass. This year, the Ford Thunderbird was the car to beat. I'm proud to congratulate Ford on its winning the 1992 NASCAR's Manufacturers Championship, and I am pleased on behalf of NASCAR to present the cup to Edsel Ford II, President of Ford Motor Company's Credit Corporation. Edsel.
Thank you very much, Les. 91 years ago, on October 10th, 1901, at a location in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, not too far from where I live today, my great-grandfather, Henry Ford, beat Alexander Winton in a 10-mile automobile race. It took him a little more than 13 minutes, and he averaged nearly 45 miles an hour. It was Ford's first race car and Ford's first racing victory. Contrast that to most recent stock car race in Atlanta, where 3 weeks ago Alan Kawicki won the Winston Cup Drivers' Championship. Bill Elliott won the race by averaging 133 miles an hour for 500 miles. And we finished, as we began the season, 1, 2, 3, and 4. There was one thing common to both events. Ford was the car, and victory was the result. When you look back on the long and storied history of automobile racing in this country, the name Ford stands above all others. Over the years, we have compiled a record that no other car company can match, with wins at such famous races as Daytona, Indianapolis, Sebring, Baja, Le Mans, Monte Carlo, Pikes Peak, and the Mojave Desert. That's why it is a particularly great honor for me to be here this evening, representing both the Ford Motor Company and our family, to accept the 1992 NASCAR Manufacturers Championship Trophy on behalf of Ford Motor Company. It has been a long time coming. Ford last won this title in 1969. Richard Nixon was our president. The Beatles were still singing live. My father was running the Ford Motor Company. David Pearson was taking his home in Moody Ford to 11 wins and the NASCAR Grand National Championship, and I was still in college. It predated the NASCAR modern era, when the good folks at R.J. Reynolds joined forces with NASCAR to make this truly one of the great auto racing series in the world. Now we are here in 1992, proud to be the only car company in the world to compete and win in what most consider the world's three most significant forms of motor racing: the NASCAR Winston Cup, Formula One, and Indianapolis. In all this year, we've won 11 championships in the United States, and we're very proud of that. But of all the wins and all the championships all over the world this season, none can match this one in our minds. When we returned to racing in the early 1980s, it was one of the first goals that we set out to reach. It also turned out to be one of the most difficult. Why this one? Because you aren't given this award. You have to earn it. In no other racing series in the world is there such competitive racing, so many teams capable of winning, and so many races to endure. Luck can win you the Indianapolis 500, maybe even the Daytona 500, or the Le Mans 24 Hours, for that matter of fact. But to win the NASCAR Manufacturers Championship, teams that run your race cars have to be competitive week after week. 29 weekends stretched all over 10 months. It takes more than just luck. It takes preparation, tireless effort, dedication, and maybe most important, teamwork. When Mike Krenifus and his people at SVO started this program in 1981, we had a lot to prove to many of you. We had just a few teams at that time and maybe a vision. As a company, we had withdrawn from racing in 1970, and only people like Bud Moore, the Wood Brothers, George Elliott, Judy Donlevy kept the Ford name alive in the Winston Cup Series. We had to prove to all of you that we were serious, because there were those of you who thought maybe we were only in it just for the short haul. We had to earn our way back, both with you and with the fans. Now, 11 years later, we have converted a few doubters along the way. Certainly for us, when nearly half the field in Atlanta was made up of Ford Thunderbirds, it was a very proud moment. And so is this evening. So on behalf of Ford, we extend our thanks to our driver's champion, Alan Kowicki, and our Rookie of the Year, Jimmy Hensley, and to the many Ford teams and drivers who are represented here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a team championship. As I close, I'd like to say a special thanks to Bill France and his staff at NASCAR. Bill, you lost your father this year, and believe me, I know how that feels. Big Bill was the reason we are all here tonight, and I don't think we should ever lose sight of that fact. And while your father began all of this, you and your people are the ones who have been responsible for the absolutely incredible success that it enjoys today. This has been a particularly satisfying year for us. And as we stand up here for the first time in many years, after watching our crosstown rivals take home the hardware for 9 years in a row, but that's the way it is in sports, isn't it? First one team dominates, then another. Well, in other words, I'm here to tell you that the Ford team is back. I think we're going to be in the thick of NASCAR Manufacturer Championship races for many years to come. So on behalf of our chairman, Red Poling, Bob Ruy, Ross Roberts, the head of Ford Division, Mike Kranifus, and all of the people associated with Ford, we thank you for this incredible honor and this beautiful trophy. We are at Ford extremely proud that we have earned this championship, and we are proud to be a part of the NASCAR family. I think it's fair to say that my great-grandfather, Henry Ford, would have been incredibly astonished to see how far we have come in automobile racing in 91 years. Thank you. We'll see you in Daytona.
Edsel Ford II is extremely proud of this manufacturer's championship. Back with more from the Waldorf after this.
IBF Light Flyweight champion Michael Carbajal puts his title on the line in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona on Saturday night, December 12th at the new America West Arena. Carbajal faces the #1 ranked contender, Robinson Questra of Panama. The guns will blaze in the Duel of the Desert. December 12th marks the return of the Duke as well, as heavyweight Tommy Morrison steps into the ring against Marshall Tillman. The Duke returns, and Carbajal against Questra in the Duel of the Desert. See it live on pay-per-view.
For 44 years, Richard Petty shook the earth and made it thunder. 200 victories, 7 championships. Now you can commemorate his career with a coin worthy of a king. Introducing the Petty Pound. 1 pound of .999 fine silver. Only 1,543 of these exceptionally rare coins have been issued. Each is presented in a solid cherry display case with your name and serial number inscribed alongside the king's. And each comes with a certificate of authenticity, which assures its collector's value. The price for this rare commemorative coin is $443, or 4 easy payments of $114. To order, call 1-800-933-8282. 1-800-933-8282. The Petty Pound. It's the coin worthy of a king and those who crowned him.
It's impossible to watch all the NFL action on Sundays. Right? Wrong. See every bone-crushing hit, every big score, and every key play from every game in just 60 minutes of non-stop excitement. Football's fastest hour when you're hungry for action. NFL Primetime. Sunday night at 7 Eastern, right before the Rams and the Buccaneers engage on ESPN.
We are back live at the Waldorf Astoria in the middle of a presentation, the McDonald's race team, which you've been watching all week on Speed Week. Let's go down to the stage and John Somsky. John?
On behalf of McDonald's and NASCAR fans everywhere, I am pleased to present each of our winners with a check for $50,000. Accepting the award for all three drivers will be Dale Earnhardt.
All three checks. That's a good wedding present, huh, Bill? Well, on behalf of Bill and Harry and all the NASCAR drivers, really, we're proud to have McDonald's supporting NASCAR and working with us. Proud to be on the McDonald's All-Star team for the 4th year in a row. Myself, they do a great job with raising money for the Ronald McDonald's House and all the charities they do for kids, and we're really proud of that. Proud to be a McDonald's All-Star. Thank you.
And Dale Earnhardt reacting to the McDonald's All-Star team. And our John Kernan is caught up with a young man who has been extremely happy. Not too young, but actually he was Rookie of the Year. Right, John?
You're exactly right. You know, Jimmy Hensley doesn't seem right calling you a rookie as long as you've been a race car driver.
Well, John, I didn't make a rule. It's a rule Winston Cup has, 4 races in a season. If you don't run over that, then you're eligible for Rookie of the Year. And 4 was the most I'd ever ran in 1 year, so I was eligible. And, in a sense, probably not I shouldn't be a rookie, but at times, I really felt like a rookie. So I accept the award, and I'm very proud to accept it. Anytime you win an award in Winston Cup, it's a good honor, so I'm happy to get it.
So there were still some things that you could learn from these Winston Cup drivers once you got in on a full-time schedule?
Oh, yeah. Like there's 7 racetracks, I'd never even raced on, even in a Busch car. So there's a lot of things that, I learned, and hopefully, if we go back next year, we'll learn some more stuff.
You learned anything by watching these cab drivers out there on the streets of New York driving this weekend?
Hey, I rode one last night. I told him I'd change tires for him, let him drive. Boy, he was something.
That's Jimmy Hensley, Rookie of the Year for 1992. Jerry?
And thank you, John. Congratulations to gentleman Jimmy from Ridgeway, Virginia. We'll be back with more of the festivities here from the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria after this. Stay with us. More in a moment.
It's McDonald's Holiday Film Festival, now featuring the American epic Dances with Wolves. The original full-length video, unbelievably priced at just $7.99 when you buy any large sandwich. So hurry in and pick up Dances with Wolves. Also available, the family favorite, Babes in Toyland, and the hilarious Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. These films just $5.99 each when you buy any large sandwich. What you want is what you get.
Hi. Hi. You know why Quaker State asked me to be their spokesman? Because I'm tough. And Quaker State is tough, too. Tough on wear, tough on sludge. And if you use Quaker State in your new car's engine, they'll guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years. In writing, Quaker State is one tough motor oil. So naturally they asked me, because I'm tough. I am tough, aren't I?
Now, you can own the definitive documentary on the King, a production as hard driving as the man himself, Richard Petty, the legend. This limited edition 2-volume home video includes the official Petty collector's car, and if you order now, you'll receive this free commemorative poster. To order, call 1-800-547-4343 or send $38.95 plus $5 shipping and handling to Richard Petty, the legend, 805B Franklin Court, Marietta, Georgia, 30067.
Just how big is the Ace Hardware really big sale? Really big. For a closer look at this great stuff, hurry into the Ace Hardware really big sale today.
Until now, lighted watch dials were really hard to see in the dark. But the Indiglo nightlight from Timex is so dramatically brighter. Nighttime will never be the same.
Flakes? What can I say? I mean, they look kind of stupid just sitting there. Lights out, nobody's home. I mean, look, there's no fruit, there's no raisins, there's nothing in here. There's something about this. It's kind of simple. It's really crunchy. You know, I like them.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes? Cool.
Taste them again for the first time.
And the holiday lights are ablaze here in the Waldorf Astoria, the 44th Annual NASCAR Winston Cup Awards Banquet ongoing here in Midtown Manhattan, New York City. The McDonald's All-Stars you saw moments ago, Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt, and the one you didn't see was Harry Gant, who is recuperating in a hospital in Statesville, North Carolina with pneumonia. Harry's watching. We wish you well, Harry. Come back to us in a hurry. The McDonald's All-Star Award balloting completed just moments ago. Let's rejoin festivities down on the stage where they're getting ready for the Gatorade Circle of Champion presentation.
There's all these speeches up here. I don't know which one to use. Thank you, Barty. Ladies and gentlemen, you really can't appreciate a NASCAR Winston Cup Victory Lane celebration unless you've been there. There are two things you are certain to find. One is a very happy driver and crew, complete with a lot of jumping up and down, high fives, and screams of joy. The other, you guessed it, Gatorade, the official sports beverage of NASCAR. Those of us at Gatorade and Quaker Oats have enjoyed a fantastic relationship with NASCAR. We find it's the best place to promote our product, especially with so many loyal fans like all of you. Gatorade is involved with just about every professional sports in this country. For example, the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, just to name a few. But nobody does it better than NASCAR. I know many of you are familiar with the Gatorade Circle of Champions program, which has evolved into one of our most successful sports promotions. This program recognizes every division of NASCAR racing, awarding race winners and champions. For example, in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, we offer $2,500 to each race winner and $20,000 to the champion. So it is my privilege tonight to honor the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion and the newest member of the Gatorade Circle of Champions, Alan Kowicki.
We certainly appreciate Gatorade's involvement in NASCAR racing, and this is my favorite non-alcoholic beverage to celebrate with in Victory Lane. If it can't be champagne, it may as well be Gatorade. I'll tell you, a lot of these races last up till almost 4.5 hours. It's very hot in the cars, and you know, anybody that thinks that a race car driver is not an athlete is mistaken. And during a grueling event such as that, a beverage, a sports beverage like Gatorade comes in really handy, and we really appreciate them being part of NASCAR racing.
And I'll agree with Alan. I consume my portion of Gatorade in the pits throughout the year. Another driver who probably has drank a lot of Gatorade over the years, and particularly those last few races, is standing by with John Kernan. John?
Well, Jerry, we're talking with Bill Elliott. Bill, second year in a row, most popular driver award 7 times in your career. You got a lock on this. What do you do so special for the fans?
Well, I really don't know. You know, the fans have done a lot for me over the years, and I've got some really good fans that really support me, help me. My fan club president, Gay Alexander, does a fantastic job with it. But one thing, I got to thank all the fans out there that really support us and help us. Not only me, but all the other drivers. You know, without the fans, we couldn't do what we do. I know a lot of times we get kind of rude or out of the way, but, you know, sometimes we got a lot of pressure on us, and you got to kind of look over us at some point in time. But, you know, it's great. It's a great honor. And at least one thing about it, I'll cherish the rest of my life.
Something else I know you must cherish, being named to the McDonald's All-Star team. That's a big honor.
It really is. You know, McDonald's has done a lot for this sport, and going to all the votes going to the 900 number really means a lot for a lot of kids.
What about next year? You know, you're very close in that championship battle with Alan Kowicki. You guys loaded for bear to come back next year?
Well, I think we are. You know, we had a good season this year with Tim Brewer, Junior Johnson, all the crew guys. You know, I kind of feel sorry for their side, but, you know, being my first year with Budweiser and Amoco, it was a great association.
Thank you very much, Bill. Bill Elliott, second in points this year. We'll see him run very, very well, I'm sure, in that Junior Johnson Ford next year. Jerry?
Thank you very much, John. Let's go back down to the stage and our host once again, Barney Hall.
Surely we haven't lost T. Wayne.
Activities continue here at the Waldorf, the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria. And our presenter is just, we are told, away from his table. So I guess when it's live and you suddenly are called for an interview, you may not be able to hear your key. Here he comes, P. Wayne Robertson, the Vice President of Sports Marketing Enterprises for the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, and a great friend of NASCAR. Here's Mr. Robertson.
1992 Winston Cup Series is competitive, but not near as competitive as it is going to the restroom here. Now, 1992 was a very competitive year. Matter of fact, it was the most competitive year since we started our involvement with R.J. Reynolds back in 1971. Tonight, we're going to honor on the stage the positions 2 through 10 as well as the champion. But if you look at the names that finished 11th through 20th that have received their checks earlier, it reads like the who's who of American motorsports. Finishing 10th, driving the Maxwell House Ford out of the Junior Johnson stable, was Sterling Marlin. Sterling?
Maxwell House Coffee Ford used a strong performance in the second half of the season to earn his spot as one of the top 10 drivers in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Sterling Marlin earned 5 pole positions in 1992, including both races at Daytona, both Darlington events, and the Die Hard 500 at Talladega. While still chasing that elusive first victory, second-place finishes at Martinsville, Daytona, and Talladega are proof he's ready to find his spot in victory lane. Making his third trip to the podium, please welcome the 1983 Rookie of the Year and 10th place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings from Columbia, Tennessee, Sterling Marlin.
Sterling, for your 10th place finish, we have a check here for $66,833.
Thanks, Wayne. We was kind of worried about you there a while ago. We was going to send a search party. I'd like to thank Winston and, if they're involved in this sport, they've really come on. And, I remember when Wayne was a show car driver and back in 71, that's a long time ago, but they've really meant a lot to us. I'd like to thank Maxwell House Coffee and Texas Pete for sponsoring the car the past 2 years. You couldn't ask for any greater people than they've been to us, and maybe we'll get together down the road sometime. Really enjoyed it. Thank Goodyear for some great racing tires, Ford Motor Company. Thank my wife, Paula, and we'll see y'all in Daytona. Thanks.
Finishing ninth in this year's competition in the Western Auto Chevrolet, 3-time Winston Cup champion, Darrell Waltrip.
Three-time Winston Cup champion Darrell Waltrip has not lost the desire to win, and neither has his car owner. This was a season of change and a place of honor in the Winston Cup record books for the driver of the Western Auto Chevrolet. Following a win at the Pocono 500 in July, veteran crew chief Jake Elder joined the team and helped DW to back-to-back wins at Bristol and the Mountain Dew Southern 500 in Darlington, the latter giving Darrell 84 career wins and a tie with Bobby Allison for third in the all-time standings. Darrell drove to 10 top 5 finishes from coast to coast on short tracks and super speedways, proving he's a contender every time he fires the engine. Finishing 9th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings, please welcome the 2-time NASCAR most popular driver and owner of the Western Auto Chevrolet, from Franklin, Tennessee, Darrell Waltrip.
Darrell, for your 9th place finish, we have a check for $79,972, which I know Stevie will enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Hey, these are big bucks, My car owner is very happy about this, amongst other things. But, see, actually, Wayne would have been here on time, but Earnhardt had him pinned up out there trying to find out where his check was. And, Dale, you'll be like me, maybe next year. It's really been a great year. I've had the Waltrip family has been blessed with another daughter, 3 months old, and that in itself was exciting. But to continue to be able to win races in this sport, that the competition is so tough, and
And things the way they are right now, I didn't realize, well, I did realize, I shouldn't say that, but I think you realize now just how important the Manufacturer's Cup is to all of us and to Herb. I don't know where you are, but we'll move you closer to the front next year. And you can get up and make one of your acceptance speeches. But it's a real thrill for me to be here tonight with my wife, Stevie, and all my friends from Western Auto, John Leach and his wife, Kathy, and a lot of other folks. But it's really, it's good for me to still hang in there in the top 10 and win a race every now and then and be a part of this wonderful sport and to be here with all of you tonight. It's real gratifying, real exciting, and I can't wait for Daytona. And we'll see you there.
Three-time Winston Cup champion Darrell Waltrip finishing 9th in the final point standings. Back with more from the Waldorf after this. Stay with us.
Handy's Texaco in downtown Burlington knows what it takes to keep your car on the road and running. A full crew of expert mechanics trained in foreign and domestic auto repair. 24-hour emergency towing service. From a simple oil, lube, and filter to a complete engine overhaul using the latest state-of-the-art equipment. Expert mechanics, monthly automotive service specials, old-fashioned pump service, and quality Texaco gas and oil products. That's family-owned and operated. Handy's Downtown Texaco, 75 South Winooski Avenue, Burlington.
U.S. Olympic athletes. All told, they put in millions of training miles. It's the same idea behind our Firestone Firehawk Endurance Championship Series. The Firestone performance tires we've raced have run up more than 1.5 million miles, and everything we learn goes into every Firestone performance tire we make. Is it worth it? We think so.
Firestone products available at Handy's Downtown Texaco, 75 South Winooski Avenue, downtown Burlington.
For you in December from ESPN. 12 sticks of fashion, 11 men a mashing, 10 dunks of crashing, 9 Broncos flashing, 8 forehands smashing, 7 skiers dashing, 6 golfers cashing, 5 bumps and dings. More skating turns, great big slips, 4 centers too, and a ball we should start the new year.
Have a ball this holiday season on ESPN.
Of our racing and all the racing.
Back at the Waldorf Astoria, Terry Labonte finishing 8th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings. The 1984 Winston Cup champion being honored on the stage. Let's go down to the stage.
I've got to thank our sponsor, Sunoco. They won't be back next season, but we've got a lot of great friends there, and we're sure going to miss them. I've got to thank all the guys in the crew. They did a fantastic job for us all season long. They're hard at work in our new Kellogg Chevrolet, so thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Finishing 7th, driving for Rick Hendrick in the Tide Chevrolet was Ricky Rudd.
Last year's Winston Cup runner-up, Ricky Rudd, put together one of 1992's most consistent seasons in his Tide Chevrolet. Rudd and his team hit their stride in April, finishing 5th at Darlington, 6th at Bristol, and 3rd at North Wilkesboro. Top 5 finishes throughout the season were common to this former NASCAR Rookie of the Year, including a 4th at Sears Point and 5th at Michigan in June. Then Ricky heated up the super speedways in July with back-to-back 4th-place finishes at Pocono and Talladega. Rudd brought his Tide car to victory lane, cleaning up at Dover, and solidly put himself in the points race. With 18 top 10 finishes, the most of any driver this season, and finishing 7th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the man behind the wheel of Rick Hendrick's Tide Chevrolet. From Chesapeake, Virginia, Ricky Rudd.
Ricky, for your 7th place finish, we have a check for $121,388.
Thank you, Wayne. I'd like to thank R.J. Reynolds. I'm going to have to go back and do some more bookkeeping. I got more money than I thought I was supposed to get here. I thought I closed my books out. Now, this is great. It's great for R.J. Reynolds' participation. 7th, I hope maybe it's a lucky number so we can come back next year and try to do better. I'd like to congratulate the head table, Alan Kowicki. Those guys have really worked hard for it, and it's a well-deserved championship. I can't think of it going to any better team than that. Our bunch, Rick Hendricks, his wife Linda Hendricks is in the audience here.
We're going to try to get at this head table. We keep saying this every year, but one of these days we're going to get lucky or blindly stumble into it or maybe just win it. We're going to get there one of these days. Like I said, we've really looking forward to getting next season underway. Gary Dehart took over with our team this year, did an excellent job. Everybody on the team worked real hard. I'd like to thank Tide, Exxon, EDS, and Chevrolet for the sponsorship, and they're the ones responsible for us being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Matching his car number and finished in 6th, driving for Jack Grouse in the Valvoline Thunderbirds, Mark Martin.
The powerful combination of Mark Martin and his Roush Racing Ford returns to the podium here tonight for the 4th year in a row. After finishing 3rd at Darlington, Martin was one of several drivers to pick up momentum in April. Mark brought his new sponsor, Valvoline, to victory lane for the first time, winning on the short track at Martinsville. The beginning of the summer stretch saw Martin come home 3rd at Sears Point and runner-up at Pocono, putting him back into contention for the Winston Cup Championship. Mark climbed as high as 4th in the standings and sustained that with 4 runner-up finishes in the second half of the season, plus another win at Charlotte in October. Tonight, here's our 6th place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup standings. Please welcome from the Jack Roush stable of Valvoline Fords, the man who does his Sunday driving in a souped-up family car. From Batesville, Arkansas, Mark Martin.
Mark, we have a check for your 6th place finish for $142,666.
Don't tell anybody, but I just found Jimmy Hensley's check for Rookie of the Year here, so I know he's looking for it. I want to thank R.J. Reynolds and Winston for their support, and the France family, and everybody connected with NASCAR that putting on these great events. It's an honor to be a part of it. I want to thank Valvoline, Folgers, Ford Motor Company, and Goodyear for their support. Jack Roush and Steve Meal and all the guys put me in great race cars this year. The best race cars I've ever driven, and really looking forward to next year's season. I believe we're going to be able to be in a position to collect on some good runs. We've got some great race cars, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Finishing 5th, driving the mellow yellow Pontiac, and sporting tonight the Felix Sabatas new hairdo is Kyle Petty.
In a season highlighted with his famous father's fan appreciation tour, Kyle Petty has successfully captured his own spotlight in Winston Cup racing. Together with owner Felix Sabatas, Kyle's mellow yellow Pontiac team turned into a lean, mean fighting machine in 1992. Kyle found his need for speed early, finishing 6th at Daytona and winning the pole at Rockingham. But it was the second half of the 1992 season where Kyle began his reign. Following the Pepsi 400 at Daytona, Petty raced for 12 top 7 finishes. Pit strategy put him in victory lane at Watkins Glen, and total track savvy at Rockingham put him in the hunt for the championship. Finishing with the most points in the second half of the season, he comes to the podium tonight for the first time since joining Sabatas 4 years ago. The pilot of the mellow yellow Pontiac, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the 5th place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup standings. From Randleman, North Carolina, Kyle Petty.
Kyle, for your 5th place finish, we have a check for you for $168,943.
Thank you, man. Hey. You're all right. Never mind. You know, I kind of feel, I said when we were earlier in the season, we were talking about it over there 4 or 5 races ago, I kind of felt like Perot in this championship deal. And now I kind of felt, we were talking about it, I kind of felt like James Stockton. You know, who am I and why am I here? I have no idea. It's been so long since I've been here. Felix wrote me a speech. They told me there was a light up here for 45 seconds, but after Darryl got down, I know that's a lie.
I'm here.
I've seen you guys in action already tonight, so okay. No, I tell you what, we had a great year. You know, I can't say enough about our year. I'd like to thank my adoptive parents, Felix and Carolyn Sabatis, who hopefully I'll be on the wheel in the next couple of years, but Mellow Yellow and Coca-Cola, you know, we signed on with them, I guess, 2 years ago, and it's been a great company to work with and great people. Pontiac, you know, they've been great to us. They picked us up when nobody else wanted us. When Felix didn't even want me, Pontiac came along with us. The new MTG group, I always get those letters mixed up. I can't never figure that out. I just always refer to it as Mr. Official's group. So they've been really, really good to us, and that's why we were so strong the second half of the year with the work that they did with us. DuPont was a sponsor for us this year, and they've gone on to Jeff Gordon, so they've got in the race in big time, and we wish them plenty of luck. Uniden, which is one of Felix's companies. We also, to get them on the car, we have to sell like 2 million telephones a year to get them to kick up the money. So if anybody out there needs a phone, we'll be out in the lobby when this thing's over with. AC Rochester has been a major, major help for us. I've shamed them into going back with us again next year. I think they were going to drop us, but I think they'll be back with us next year. You know, I can't say enough about Goodyear and Winston. You know, Goodyear furnishes the greatest tires in the world and in racing, as far as I'm concerned. But Winston, you know, to get this check, my father said it 1,000,000 times, they paid for our house, so hopefully this will pay for my beach house. It'll get close. No, not quite. But I tell you what, none of this would be possible. None of this would be possible for me to be up here if it wasn't for Robin Pemberton and John Wilson and every one of those guys that work back at the shop that are working right now, because we're going to test on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday when we leave here. So I can't say enough about those guys. They worked their rear ends off. We had great pit stops all year long, and it's been a great year for us.
Red lights on.
No, wait a
Red
minute.
lights.
I got one thing else. I got one thing else. Wait a minute. Everybody's introducing their wife. My wife's name's Patty. She's sitting over here. So, but no, I'm gonna tell you something. This is ever since I got in a race car, I've raced with my father, and this was his last year, and this has been hadn't been too emotional a year for me, I will say that, but there were a couple of times when it was kind of emotional at Daytona, when they introduced him in the drivers' meeting, and all the drivers stood up, and the last race at Atlanta, when he was out front, and all the pit crew members and all the teams stood on the wall and applauded him as he came down the front stretch, and that was very emotional for me. And this is an emotional night because, you know, Richard Petty's meant everything in the world to me. Linda Petty has meant probably more to me than Richard Petty has. But I will say that. I don't know why he gets all the awards. She should get 2/3 of them. But I've said it before, you know, if I could have chose my parents, I would have chose those two people sitting right over there, and I couldn't be any more proud of those people. I'd like to congratulate Alan's team that's all up here in the rafters, and Alan Kowicki. I'd like to congratulate Ford on the Manufacturers Cup. I know it's been a long, hard road. I drove a Ford for a while, and they got rid of me. But, and Alan, let me tell you something, bud. You got Julie sitting there with you, so you're going to have to marry this girl. Or all the pictures in your house, when you do marry another girl, you're not going to be able to enjoy your championship, man. Congratulations.
Kyle Petty, the words that every parent want to hear from their son or daughter, and extremely proud Richard and Linda Petty here at the Waldorf. Back with more from the Grand Ballroom after this.
This is a test.
You know, I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quick Estate. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quick Estate and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
Just what you wanted for the holidays. Movies from McDonald's for your family and friends. Give them the hilarious Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Or the family favorite Babes in Toyland. Each video just $5.99 when you buy any large sandwich. Or surprise them with Dances with Wolves, the original full-length version. Unbelievably priced at only $7.99 when you buy any large sandwich during McDonald's Holiday Film Festival. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
Every Blockbuster video has thousands of great movies, including hundreds of new releases. So give yourself the gift of entertainment and rent one tonight, like this.
Lethal Weapon 3. 3 times the excitement. 3 times the action. 3 times the laughs. The most entertaining weapon yet. Lethal Weapon 3. Rated R.
Blockbuster Video, your holiday headquarters for more movies and more fun.
Back at the Waldorf Astoria, Harry Gant finished 4th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings. As we mentioned earlier on Speed Week, he is not here tonight. He is in Statesville at a hospital recovering from pneumonia. His car owner, Leo Jackson, has these remarks.
Ron Parker. I'd like to thank Oldsmobile. They were one of our big sponsors this year, and Larry Lyons. I'd like to thank the people at MTG, Herb Fischel, Jerry Lays, and all the group that works with them. I'd like to thank Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Most of all, I'd like to thank Harry Gant, our driver, for the great job he did for us. I'd like to thank our crew chief, Andy Petrie, and our engine builder, Jerry Vez, and all the guys on our crew. I'd like to thank my wife for standing by me and her support, Thelma, and I'd like to thank Peggy Gant for standing by Harry Gant. Thank you. Thank you, Leo. The next driver, finishing 3rd, certainly is an inspiration to all of us. What he's overcome this year and his entire team is something everybody can be proud of. Finishing 3rd, driving the Texaco Ford Haviland, is Davey Allison.
When Davey Allison guided his Ford into victory lane at Daytona, the quest for the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Championship became the sole focus for this talented second-generation driver. He began a string of top 5 finishes that equaled 15 by season's end, the most of any driver. No one had ever led the points race from start to finish, and by the halfway mark, Davey was the only one who had viewed the season from the top. But not many people in the sporting world will ever experience the physical pain and emotional heartache that this athlete was about to endure. In July, the racing fraternity held their breath as Davey held on during this horrifying crash at Pocono. Only 1 week later, Allison amazingly climbed back into the cockpit at Talladega. Then in Michigan in August, the Allison family lost one of their own. Davey chose to do what he thought best. He raced. He finished. He went on. But concern for his family never left him.
I'll have to say the last couple of weeks have been the toughest, and my mom's done a remarkable job. I'd like to say hi, Mom. I love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
As Davey continued to heal, his focus never shifted from the championship. He vowed to enter Atlanta the points leader, and he did after taking the checkered flag first at Phoenix, setting the stage for the most exciting season finale in memory. In 1992, Davey Allison traveled a path unlike any of his contenders, and the end of his season would be no different. Davey became an innocent victim, and in just a moment's time, his season ended. His fans agonized as Davey desperately tried to catch up to the field. He couldn't. But sportsmanship prevailed, even though disappointment burned inside. Here tonight for the second consecutive year as the 3rd place finisher in the NASCAR Winston Cup standings, ladies and gentlemen, the driver of the Texaco Haviland Ford, fielded by Robert Yates Racing. From Hueytown, Alabama, Davey Allison.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man that should be as proud as anybody this evening, Davey Allison. David, we have a check for you for $281,498.
Wayne, thanks again, and thanks to all the folks at RJ Reynolds, because, you're what makes NASCAR Winston Cup Racing what it is. And we all really appreciate that. All the competitors do. And, there are so many people, as I said earlier, that deserve thanks. And there's just no way you can recognize them all. But I know a lot of you out there in the past have had to have substitutes from being sick or being ill or whatever. And this year I had to have some substitutes from being injured. And those three guys deserve a lot of credit too. Jimmy Hensley came out there at North Wilkesboro and really gave us a big hand, and we went on to win that race. And we owe him a lot of thanks for that. We'll never forget it. And Bobby Hillen's performance at Talladega, I think that spoke for itself. He did a tremendous job. And then Dorsey Schrader up there at Watkins Glen, again, he was doing a super job for us, and the weather just got us. But, I want to say thanks to those three guys, because they'll never know just how much that meant. And as Kyle was saying up here, he couldn't choose any better parents. Well, there's two people sitting right over there at table number 10 that I feel the same way about, my mom and dad. And, all the fans out there, thanks for the support. Thanks for the support from all the fans, the cards and letters. You just can't believe what kind of encouragement and enthusiasm that put behind us and kept us going. And, again, to RJ Reynolds, thanks. Alan Kowicki, congratulations. Thanks to Robert and Larry, all the guys at the shop who did a tremendous job all year long. Ford, Texaco Haviland, and as some other people have mentioned, Goodyear, thank you for the best tires in the world to race on. We'll see y'all.
Thank you, Davey. Finishing second with his first-time team is a guy that I know has made Junior and Flossie, Tim Brewer, and all the Budweiser crew proud, Bill Elliott.
During the 1991 off-season, the anticipation began to build. On the horizon for 1992 was a new super team with the names Elliott and Johnson at the front. For Winston Cup fans, it doesn't get any bigger than that. And the new powerhouse didn't disappoint anyone. Bill Elliott's Budweiser Ford blew in as a lion on March 1st. Beginning at Rockingham and ending at Darlington, Elliott dominated with 4 straight wins, tying the modern-day record. The words super speedway and Elliott are synonymous, and it was on these tracks that Bill posted consistent top 5 finishes before and after he inherited the points lead in August. Bill never looked back until he found himself out of the running at Phoenix. One of a trio that set the stock car racing world on edge, Elliott entered Atlanta knowing he needed to lead every lap possible, and win the race. Elliott can say that he did all he could to win the Winston Cup. In a sport of miles, it came down to a sport of inches. Victory lane was his at Atlanta. Tonight, we welcome the 1988 NASCAR Winston Cup champion and this year's runner-up, driver of the Budweiser Ford owned by Junior Johnson. From Dawsonville, Georgia, Bill Elliott.
Bill, for your second place finish, we have a check for $392,833.
Appreciate it. There's so many things to say and so many people to thank. It's hard to really sit up here. You echo the words what everybody else says. You go through a year and there's so many things go on within a year. But one thing I got to say is it's been a fantastic year and a fantastic relationship I've gained with a lot of folks. Junior, Tim Brewer, all the Budweiser people, Amico, Ford. I mean, they're the best. I mean, I've been through a lot of relationships, but none any better. I'd like to say that for all the contingency sponsors, there's a bunch of them out there, all the crew guys back at the shop that put in 100% effort this year. We've been up and down the spectrum, but it's been one of those seasons that, we can't look back. And, Alan, he gave us a heck of a race in Atlanta, and he come up on top. But, all in all, it's been a fantastic year. Like Winston, you can't say enough about Winston and what they've done over the past several years.
But, you know, tonight is a night of giving out awards, and I got a little one of my own. You know, Goodyear gives Alan a gold car, and I got him a gold comb to go in that gold car. Because if anybody saw him in Atlanta after the race, he just used a regular black comb to comb his hair before he got out. So, Alan, after a while, I'll give you this comb. It says, Alan Kawicki, 1992 Winston Cup champion, designer comb. And I appreciate it.
Bill Elliott with the Gold Comb Award to Alan Kawicki. Elliott coming up just 10 points short of that championship. Back with the championship team at the Waldorf after this.
Strangers in the night, exchanging glances, wandering in the night. What were the chances we'd be sharing love?
Timex, it takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Are we okay? Oh, not really, no. I'm all stuffed up.
I'm all stuffed up.
Well, I got a sore throat and a cough.
Well, me too.
Well, stop complaining.
I'm not complaining.
Somebody is complaining.
Then we'll take something.
Not that cough syrup makes me gag.
When you're all blocked up, Ludens helps. Fast-acting cough suppressants with menthol vapor relief.
I can breathe.
For serious vapor relief, Ludens helps. Really help.
Hey, Warren, where do the stars come out on Sunday nights? In your face. 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 When the stars come out, ESPN is in your face.
ESPN, Sunday night NFL.
The Rams battle the Buccaneers Sunday night at 8 Eastern.
Back at the Waldorf, NASCAR President Bill France Jr. about to recognize the championship team.
I think that goes for the whole crew. NASCAR is glad to have Hooters involved in our sport. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bill. I want to thank NASCAR and Winston Cup, and especially Alan. Alan, you made it seem easy for us. I know this is our first year, maybe a novice in racing, but we certainly enjoyed it. I accept this on behalf of our associate sponsors, Naturally Fresh, which is our sister company, as well as Hooters and all the employees, especially the Hooters girls, America's cheerleaders, which raise millions for local charities. Also like to thank my wife Yvonne sitting over here for putting up with the 10,000 Hooters girls we have. And I have two sons in the audience, Mark and Kobe, which just finished Clemson recently, and they're unmarried, and so I think they're like the business their dad is in. Other than that, I thank God for letting us win this year, and I really thank him for meeting and having friends like you out there. It's been a great year, an incredible year. Thank you.
You can't do it without a good crew chief, and you need an engine that's going to stay together. Gentlemen?
You know, NASCAR is a great organization, as you all know, and I'm extremely proud to be up here and be a part of NASCAR. You know, without a good team behind us, you know, we couldn't be up here without a good driver driving on the track on Sunday and also driving us during the week at the shop. He just makes everything much, you know, go easier. All the guys work extremely hard, and we're just extremely proud to be up here. I'd just like to thank everybody that's involved, everybody on the team. Just thank you very much.
Proud to accept this award for the whole team, and I thank NASCAR for this type of award, and I'd like to acknowledge Hooters, Ford Motor Company, the guys in the shop, Shane Parsnow, Gary Preziosi, Randy Clary, Danny Glad, and thank all the guys' wives for putting up with us, and especially Alan, keeping us on our toes and doing a great job.
Ladies and gentlemen, please look to the screen as we meet the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
Alan, I can't believe this night happened in my lifetime. I watched you grow from a young man with ambition to drive into a national champion, and you did it without help of many around you. I know you've set some high goals in your life, and you have accomplished that high goal. I'm proud of you as your father, and I'm proud to call you champion.
From his humble... very uncommon way, becoming a Winston Cup champion was forthcoming.
Well, we've been lucky for 9 years. This is the first problem we've had, so I guess the law of gravity's got us on this one. We'll just stand by a second. Alan.
Jerry, this is the first thing that Alan Kawicki's had go wrong all year, isn't it?
I tell you, when you have the kind of championship year he had, and now he comes up, and we will get ready to meet the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
When you drive the car the wrong way, Alan.
There's really nothing wrong. They're just playing the tape backwards, that's all.
So on behalf of NASCAR, we're very proud of Alan. He's going to be a great champion. I think you've watched him the night earlier. He articulates very well. He's going to be a great asset for the sport, and he'll take his page in our history, in the history book, as we go down the line of helping to move the sport along. Alan, I'm pleased to present to you the championship ring. There's a few guys out here who have one, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'm sure you'll win another one. Congratulations.
Well, he told me this was going to be a big evening for me, but I thought they were talking about the Winston Million. I didn't know anything about this getting married stuff. This really means a lot. You know, everybody was asking me what it felt like to win the championship, and I kept saying, well, I don't think it's really sunk in yet. And tonight it is, little by little, award by award. And this is probably the best one so far. I'll certainly covet this ring for many years to come, and have a lot of fond memories of all my times in NASCAR and what it took to get here, and really want to thank everyone in the NASCAR organization, Dick Beatty, Bill France Jr., Les Richter, Gary Nelson, for treating me fairly and accepting me from the time I first came in to NASCAR stock car racing. And without a fair shake from them and a fair organization, I might not be here tonight. So thank you very much.
Tonight, we are about to honor a man uniquely individual to the sport of Winston Cup racing. This new champion spawned from the ranks of Midwest short track racing, and from the very beginning, Alan Kulwicki had a plan. He would do it right, and he would do it on his own. There is something fascinating about a man who is willing to take such a gamble, a risk, although it really is no different from the willpower needed to succeed in racing. The NASCAR dream of Kulwicki's began to focus 6 years ago tonight, when he was named 1986 Rookie of the Year. With this accomplishment, Alan continued to work night and day, finding sponsors, building race cars, running his race team. Entering victory lane was several years in the future, but it was in the plan. When victory beckoned, Alan showed stock car fans his feeling of triumph in a very uncommon way. Becoming a Winston Cup champion was forthcoming. It was now the sole focus of the plan. As is tradition when the curtain rises on a new Winston Cup season, names of drivers are debated as potential champions some 11 months away. In the maverick mind of Alan Kulwicki, the plan was about to unfold. The Hooters Ford that rolled out of the independent shop was very fast. Kulwicki guided it to the pole 6 times in 1992 on short tracks and super speedways, and in the lead at the end of the first lap in each of those races was Alan. As they say, every point counts. As the season progressed, Kulwicki was often overshadowed by his other Ford competitors, but his rise in the points was steady. From 11th to 7th to 5th to 3rd, along the way, he coolly came away the victor in the utmost of driving challenges, 500 laps at Bristol. Solidly locked in the top 5 in points, Alan won again at Pocono, leading the most laps, getting the most out of every mile. Out of 29 events, Kulwicki finished every race but 2. 17 times he maximized his race day with a top 10 finish. And suddenly, the name Kulwicki was one of only 6 whose championship vision could become reality. For the man with the quiet confidence, there was one last game plan. Whoever said it isn't over till it's over didn't know Alan Kulwicki. As the largest ever sporting event crowd in Georgia and millions more watched on television, the history books began to be rewritten. It really would be this close. Out of 11,500 miles of racing, it really did come down to these last few laps. And finally, the winner was not the fastest car, but the one with the best strategy, the best plan. Alan Kulwicki had conquered more than the pinnacle of motorsports, but as America waited, this new star let his actions once again speak louder than words. Tonight, we salute a man who is a winner in more ways than one. For nowhere but in America can a man with a plan achieve his dreams doing it his way. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Alan Kulwicki.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Alan Kulwicki's night to celebrate, and my job tonight is to make sure he can pay for the party he's going to have afterwards, which I think will probably cost more in champagne than a few orders of chicken wings at Hooters. But before we get to the serious business of handing over this heavy-duty NASCAR Winston Cup Champions check, I want to join a host of other people who have paid tribute to Richard Petty. Richard, personally, and on behalf of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, I thank you for what you've meant to this sport. You've earned an honored place in the history of Winston Cup NASCAR racing. I look forward to continuing to work with you as a car owner, and I'm going to give you one more chance to change your mind. I also want to congratulate Dick Beatty, Director of Racing at NASCAR, for winning the NASCAR Award of Excellence. You all know Dick is a terrific man. He's been a great friend of Winston and a great friend personally and a great supporter of everything we all do. Now for Alan Kulwicki, this is his first NASCAR Winston Cup championship. It was the closest competition ever. This driver and car owner assumed the mantle of underdog with pride, and he won the most coveted title in motorsports. Alan's accomplishment this year in winning the title says more about determination, dedication, and perseverance than anything I can imagine. The sponsorship is also shared by Alan's crew on the Hooters board. The crew is here tonight, and I'd like for them to stand and be recognized for their huge contribution toward winning this championship. It's often been reported that Alan has turned down terrific offers to drive for other well-established teams. Despite the odds, he wanted to win the championship as his own car owner. He insisted, as the great song says, on doing it his way. And he sure did. Alan, we knew you were good after you won the Rookie of the Year in your first full year on the circuit in 1986. In a very short period of time, you've shown all of us just how good you really are. You've reached the top of your sport. You are the NASCAR Winston Cup champion. Congratulations. And now we honor you and your team with this special salute.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. It was my way.
Alan, it gives me great pleasure to present you with the Winston Cup trophy. And I have a little envelope here in one corner. It says, number 1. On the other side, it says $1,125,551. Congratulations, Alan. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Alan Kawicki.
Wow. I want to thank RJR for sponsoring the NASCAR circuit, for all the things they've done. I want to thank Jim Johnston, T. Wayne Robertson, Jeff Bird, Ty Norris, who's become a pretty good friend of mine over the last couple of weeks, for all they've done for this sport. This marks 22 years, I think, that they've been involved in it, and I've been here for almost a week now, experiencing firsthand all the things they do behind the scenes that they've been doing for 22 years now to make this sport into what it is today. All the marketing, all the promotions, we wouldn't be anywhere close to where we are without their support, and we certainly want to thank them. I know you've heard it before, but they're due at least one more recognition. I certainly want to thank my sponsors, Hooters Restaurants, some of their people here tonight, Bob Brooks, who you've seen before, his son, Mark Brooks, their Vice President of Marketing, Mike McNeil, Ken Abbott, and Tom Roberts, who's done my PR this year. Also, Naturally Fresh Salad Dressings, Classic Mixers, and Ford Motor Company. Michael Cranafis, Lee Morris, Preston Miller, and Edsel Ford have done a lot, as has Robert Yates, to help all the Ford teams this year. We're glad to be part of the team that helped win the Manufacturers' Championship for them. And my career has taken a lot of different turns along the way, and one of them a year and a half ago, about 2 years ago, was starting the season without a sponsor. And I raced a camouflage car with Army on it at Daytona, which was sponsored by R.J. Reynolds. I ran an unsponsored car for a few races, and then finally Hooters came along, which at the time I thought was maybe going to be a one-race deal. They stayed on for a few more races, eventually the rest of the season, and then a multi-year sponsorship, and they've turned into be a bigger, better sponsor than I ever thought they could have when we first got together. I want to thank them for all their support, and I feel it's been a mutually beneficial relationship, and maybe there's more good things to come for both of us. I want to thank my team. I don't think much has been said about them tonight. We acknowledged them briefly before, but a lot of things have been said about what I stand for, my determination and my work ethics and everything like that. But, you know, we're still one of the smaller teams on the NASCAR circuit, and these guys work really hard, and they deserve a lot of the credit. Everything that I stand for, they stand for also, and I wouldn't be here without them. Paul Andrews, my crew chief, you've seen on stage here before tonight. He started years ago, and we've had a lot of trying times to get to this point, but he's stuck in there and done an excellent job and really matured the last couple of years. Tony Gibson, Jeff Bice, Cal Lawson, Tom Mount, Pete Jackson, Peter Jellin, Bob Gilbranson. Our engine shop, Ron Vaccaro was up here before. Danny Glad, who takes care of our engines at the track every week. Randy Clary has done an excellent job putting them together and contributed a lot to our reliability this year. Gary Preziosi, Shane Parsnow. Also up there is Joe Covington, who's traveled a lot over the years to be one of the weekend members of our team, has done an excellent job changing tires for us. Danny Cameron, Scott Williamson, our scorer Sandy Dries, and my dad here, Jerry Kawicki, and my mom Thelma. Without them, I wouldn't be here either. That was a pretty touching moment. My dad's not a real emotional kind of guy, and some people say I'm not, and that's about as emotional as I get. I want to thank them a lot, and I'm glad that he got to experience something like this in his lifetime. I'm sure it means a lot to him. The wives of all the team members that have put up with a lot of the sacrifices that go into winning a championship like this, because believe me, there's a lot of hard work to it. Some of my team members are seated down there, and some are up in the balcony, and that's only appropriate because I truly do look up to you. Let's have a round of applause for him. This truly is a dream come true. I woke up this morning and I asked myself, how did this happen? How did I get here? I'm about to be crowned the Winston Cup champion, and you know, all the interviews that you go through after winning something like this make you reflect back on all the things you had to do to get to this point, and you really sort of reflect back on your whole life, and it brings back a lot of memories. And 6 years ago, I was just a little guy with a dream that moved down south with a pickup truck and a trailer. After running a few NASCAR races and dreaming about it for 10 years, I thought, well, maybe I was ready to take a stab at it. And I sold my short track equipment, some of which you saw there, pictures from ASA competition. I gave a notice on my apartment, closed the checking account, took everything I had, and really had to leave my whole life behind to move down south. And they were having a going away party for me, and the only thing was I didn't know where I was going to. You know, there were some opportunities and some rides and potential sponsors, and I decided to take a gamble that one of them would come through, and when it came time to go, I wasn't sure where I was going. Had the trailer loaded half full of household equipment. I had a bed in there, a welder, all kinds of stuff, and a couple days before I was ready to go, the truck had an electrical fire and burned down, and I stopped and asked myself if someone was trying to tell me something. And it would have been real easy to quit and turn back and say, well, that just wasn't meant to be, or I can't do it. But I kept on, and when I first came down south, I got to be honest, I was really scared. I was just swimming for my life, and the fear of failure is a good motivator, and I think that's what drove me in the early years. And through a lot of hard work on the part of my team, I don't want to take all the credit for this. They really deserve a lot of it. There's a lot of people that have helped me over the years. Just eventually worked my way up little by little to get to this point. Again, I want to thank NASCAR. You know, when I first came down south, a lot of people said, well, you can't do that. You're not a good old boy. The sport's really grown a lot. It's not just a regional sport, and it's growing day by day through the efforts of NASCAR and R.J. Reynolds. And from the time I came into the sport, I tried to respect the people that were there, come in and be humble, and, you know, I think in turn they respected me, and just because I won this championship, I think I'm going to try to continue to be a humble person. My team has done a lot to get me to this point. I have been the underdog a lot of my career. You know, I didn't start out choosing to do it this way. It just sort of happened, and I started my own team out of necessity, and when there weren't any other offers, I just kept building it up, and got to the point where I just had too much invested in it, emotionally and financially, to give up on it. And you know, there's more things to life than just money and getting paid money to win races and drive cars. And there's, you know, the goal is to win races and a championship, and there's a lot of satisfaction in doing it this way. And if I've been an underdog, or if I've been an example to a lot of the little guys out there, then I'm proud to fill that role. There's a lot of short track drivers and guys in Busch Grand National Racing and people all across the country coming into the sport, making it bigger and better day by day. You know, and hopefully, you know, some of them will look at it and say, well, if he did it, maybe I can do it too. And, you know, I hope I continue to be an example in the future, a good example. You know, I was proud to be involved in this championship battle this year. I think all the guys involved in it, Bill Elliott, Davey Allison, Kyle, Harry Gant, Mark Martin, everybody handled themselves with a lot of class. You know, we raced, and whoever would get on top would have trouble, and there were a lot of ups and downs for everyone, but everything on the track was clean, and everything off the track was clean. You know, there was no mud slinging or fender banging, and I think everyone handled themselves great, and, you know, I'm proud to be a part of competition like that. You know, I really am a fortunate person to be here tonight, and I really count my blessings. We've all got a lot to be thankful for here. I hope that in the year to come I will be a good representative. I hope that when 1993 is over that people at Winston, the people at NASCAR, and the competitors all look back and say, we were proud to have him represent us as our champion. Thank you.
The story that every American loves to hear. The ultimate underdog wins out. 1992 Winston Cup champion Alan Kulwicki accepting the applause from this crowd. We'll hear from him when we come back after this.
Hi. You know why Quaker State asked me to be their spokesman? Because I'm tough. And Quaker State is tough, too. Tough on wear, tough on sludge. And if you use Quaker State in your new car's engine, they'll guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years. In writing, Quaker State is one tough motor oil. So naturally they asked me, because I'm tough. I am tough, aren't I?
IBF Light Flyweight champion Michael Carbajal puts his title on the line in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona on Saturday night, December 12th at the new America West Arena. Carbajal faces the #1 ranked contender, Robinson Cuestra of Panama. The guns will blaze in the Duel of the Desert. December 12th marks the return of the Duke as well, as heavyweight Tommy Morrison steps into the ring against Marshall Tillman. The Duke returns, and Carbajal against Cuestra in the Duel of the Desert. See it live on pay-per-view.
Here they come from Radio Shack. Radio-controlled cars for supercharged fun. The new fast Black Phantom burns up the straightaway.
Watch me make the turn.
The new twin-motor Blue Flash has super grip tread.
Hills are no problem.
As tough as they come, the 4x4 off-roader takes on the rough terrain. And the Jumbo van carries cargo with style.
I'm out of here.
Radio-controlled cars for kids big and small. From Radio Shack, your Christmas electronics store.
The only problem with ice chests is the ice. Yes, it's the ice. Not to mention the icy mess. That's why we're introducing Cool-Mate, the electric igloo. Just plug it in. It keeps food and drinks cool and dry, and it never needs ice. Cool-Mate, the electric igloo.
Introduces the new standard in television. Trinitron XDR Squared.
Hey, look! It's the Grand Canyon!
It'll change the way you feel about everything you see. From Sony.
Back at the Waldorf Astoria, Chief Executive Officer Jim Johnston from the RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company has just announced that the 1993 NASCAR point fund will be increased from $2.5 million to $3 million. And Benny Parsons, that means that the Winston Cup champion next year will take home $1,250,000.
This year, Alan Kulwicki took home $1,125,000, so they're going to increase that at least $125,000. But I think one thing that a lot of folks are going to be happy for, they announced that they're going to increase it from 20 drivers to 25 drivers. So next year, there'll be 25 drivers sharing in the Winston Cup point payoff.
Now, you and I have known Alan Kulwicki for 7 years, the entire time he's been down here, and he tells us a moment ago that he's not an emotional person, and you couldn't be to survive what he has had to endure the past 7 years. But a moment ago, how he could stand on that stage and speak after listening to Frank Sinatra, I couldn't do it.
I tell you what, that was one of the most emotional moments I've ever had in this sport. You know, he's done a lot this year, but when Frank Sinatra said he did it his way, it was awesome.
A 37-year-old Wisconsin native who came south 7 years ago and had a dream. It is his night, a very special night at NASCAR. We'll be back with more from the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria. The 44th Annual Winston Cup Awards Banquet activities continue. After this, stay with us.
Does your day seem like every minute is an hour? That all the lucky breaks happen to everyone else?
Then take a break, take a chance, get a taste of real excitement at the Dream Machine. Enter a new dimension of video action beyond your wildest dreams. Dream Machine is your video hotspot.
Hey! Ooh, nice headband.
Visit Dream Machine today, where dreams become reality.
Tired of watching the same old thing over the holiday season? Try the Disney Channel's free holiday preview featuring the making of Aladdin, Paul McCartney Get Back, and The Rocketeer. The Disney Channel free preview, December 3rd through the 6th. That should shake things up a bit.
The biggest names in sports are on ESPN Radio.
Oh, well, see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'll only hold a grudge till I die, is what most of the players say.
I'm closer to 50 than I am to 20. Eating some peanuts, buying hamburgers. You can do it too. Can I get an amen? Amen.
I want to do radio, baby, and beyond and on.
And the festivities just concluding here at the Grand Ballroom. Everyone getting up and getting a chance to congratulate the brand new 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup champion Alan Kulwicki, as he will carry away $1.125 million as the 1992 champion. And Benny Parsons, he did it a tough way. He had to come to Atlanta on ESPN and race for it, and that's the way to win a championship.
And, you know, it boiled down to the fact that he led one more lap than Bill Elliott did. If Elliott had led one more lap other than Alan Kulwicki, he would have been the champion. I mean, that's how close it was. Just 2 laps made a difference. We saw it in some of the video tonight. Alan Kulwicki winning the race to the line by a fender a couple of times on Bill Elliott. That's what won him a championship, Jerry. Those 2 runs back to the line where he beat Elliott by 1 fender.
You know, Paul Andrews, the crew chief, Danny Glad, all of them were in the pits calculating lap by lap. Now, 103 laps led by Kulwicki to 102 laps led by Elliott. You say, what's 1 lap? But that would have put them tied in the point standings, and Elliott would have won the tiebreaker by virtue of having won 5 events to 2 for Alan Kulwicki. But Alan Kulwicki is the 1992 Winston Cup champion, and John Kernan, the festivities certainly must be exciting down on the stage.
Jerry, you're exactly right. Paul Andrews, the crew chief for Alan Kulwicki. Paul, just had to be a fantastic, unbelievable night for you.
That it was. You know, it's great. You know, I'd like to really thank all the guys on the team and Alan. They all done a super job all year long. You know, Alan pushes us hard, and we push each other hard. And that's what it takes. You know, we just got to push each other and keep going and never stop. And that's what we've done. You know, even at Dover, when things didn't look too good, we just kept going and never let up. And you know, anything could happen, and we proved it, and this year proved it. The way it ended at the end of the year, the last race of the year, we won it by 10 points, and that's fantastic. We feel great.
What is it that drives you guys to work the hours that you put in to reach this success?
You know, ever since I've been in racing, I've been putting in a lot of hours, and I think most of the people out there have. Even the guys on the short tracks right now are probably putting in a lot of hours, and that's what it takes. And if that's what it takes, and that's what it takes to get here, that's what I want to do. It doesn't really matter. Well, it's like the old saying goes, what we've been saying all along is whatever it takes is what we want to do. The whole team feels that way, and so do I.
Thank you very much, Paul. Let's bring in your boss here, Alan Kulwicki. Alan, congratulations. Alan, you said that was about as emotional as you get, but right now I imagine the emotions have to be sky high inside of you, even though you look very, very calm.
Well, I'm getting myself back together. There are a lot of things in that video that a lot of people don't even realize. One of them was a picture of my brother in that old little Model T type car, and he died when I was in 8th grade. My mother died, and you know, I tell you, I had to overcome some things early on that, you know, we won't get into a big story about that right now, but it was a very touching piece, and really makes me appreciate being up here all that much more.
Well, I know, Alan, you're going to be crushed with media attention. You have been this week, but as you look out here, a lot of still photographers getting ready to take your picture. I guess this is just part of the business of being the Winston Cup champion, isn't it?
It is. The sport keeps growing, and the more media attention there is, you know, the more of this there's going to be, and some pretty big shoes to fill to be the Winston Cup champ. A lot of responsibility goes along with it, and I'm going to do my very best to be a good representative for the sport.
I'm sure you'd be a great representative. Alan Kowicki, thank you very much. We'll let you get over to the still photographers. Now we're going to move over this way to one of the unsung heroes, I guess you could say, of the Alan Kowicki Racing, Danny Glad, chief mechanic. Danny, you're one of the guys kind of in the background. We don't hear a lot about what you do, but you are very much an integral part of this race team. Just a little description of what it's like to work with the Winston Cup champion.
Oh, John, you said it right when you said unsung hero, but there's up in the balcony and down in the floor is 15 more unsung heroes of this team that work just as hard as I do. And a lot of us, it's my first Winston Cup Awards banquet, and as well as the rest of our crew. And it's just starting to sink in now how much goes into this, winning this award. It doesn't come easy. There's a lot of hard work, and it's going to be hard to come back again. There's 6, 7 good teams that are knocking on the door to come in that they're gonna fight us for this championship next year. We put a lot of hard work into it. We hope we can do it again next year, but it's not going to be easy.
Nothing ever is easy, and the battle starts again on Monday, but you guys enjoy yourselves tonight. Jerry, should be a great time down here at the Waldorf Astoria.
It should be, John. Early in the year, Alan Kowicki told me that he was like Mighty Mouse. He always managed to prevail somehow, and about an hour before the banquet, he walked up and handed me this pen, gave me a pat on the back, and said, "My dreams have come true." We'll be back with more from the Waldorf Astoria as Alan Kowicki enjoys his special night as the new Winston Cup champion. Back with more after this. Stay with us.
He's back. This time we get him. STP gas treatment. Cleans intake valves and fuel injectors to help engines run better. STP, the edge.
Mark and my relationship goes way past business. I'm sure in a previous life he and I were twin brothers. Throughout the race, the driver and crew chief communicate. The driver complains about the car or brags about the car. It's the crew chief's job on pit stops to make whatever fixes he can to help the driver's predicament. Everyone has about the same access to equipment and technology, but the people who rub on it the most and think the most of it and think about it the most will end up winning the race.
Mountain man survival skills. The basics. A true mountain man must have a keen sense of direction, a certain physical dexterity, and a talent for surviving the most unforgiving climates. Of course, nothing is more key to a mountain man's survival than plenty of smooth bush beer and easy drinking bush light. So, head for the mountains and learn how the mountain man survives even the most grueling conditions.
Got stranded once. Never again.
Look, there's a reason more people go to Sears for a new battery than anywhere else.
Face another winner without a diehard? No way.
Only Sears has the Die Hard. In tests for cold cracking starting power, Die Hard performed 3 times better than industry standards.
Out here, if you don't have a Die Hard, you don't have a prayer.
You can count on me.
Sears Die Hard. More power when you need it most.
Saturday on College Game Day. Stay informed on the big SEC championship game between Alabama and Florida. And stay put for the incredible and the amazing. The college football plays of the year. Saturday morning on ESPN.
Until now, lighted watch dials were really hard to see in the dark. But the Indiglo nightlight from Timex is so dramatically brighter. Nighttime will never be the same.
It's gone. But it isn't.
Here's strong medicine in a cough drop. Extra strength Vicks. With Vicks Vapor Medicine so effective, it'll relieve your cough and help your scratchy throat and stuffy nose feel better, even after the drop is gone.
Welcome back to ESPN's live coverage of the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Awards ceremony. We've caught up with some special people. Davey Allison, Bobby Allison, whose father, and Bobby, Davey had some very kind words to say about you up here on the stage this evening, talking about how he couldn't have picked someone better to be his father.
Well, Davey has been the kind of a son that any father would really, really enjoy having. I've really enjoyed his stuff. I've appreciated his position, and I know that he's given his mom a lot of consideration and love through the thing. He had some really hard times this year, had some good times this year, and I'm just really proud of how he went on and did the best he could. And It wasn't quite where it needed to be, but it still was really a good effort.
And he has told me that he learned how to handle those situations from you. Is there any one particular piece of advice you've given to Davey over the years that you think made the difference?
Well, I think just kind of something that came from my dad, you know. Go ahead and work hard, persevere, do things right, treat people right, and do the best you can always.
And Davey, special night for you. I know you would have liked to have been sitting at that head table, but it's got to make the desire burn even more for next year.
Well, that's one thing about this business, John, is the more you hunger for something, the more that hunger grows, and the more that fire burns. And watching what's going on here tonight, and you know, just all the festivities that's going on around here this weekend, it's helped to fuel that fire. And we're looking forward to 1993. We think we're going to start the season off the way we started off in 1992. At least we know the same opportunities are out there, and we're going to have more race cars this year.
The season's over now officially with the banquet. You going to have time to relax?
Well, I tell you what, I've had 2 weeks of just total relaxation, sitting in a tree stand down in central Alabama and not doing much of anything. And I've had too much time off. I'm ready to go back to work. I wish the season was starting tomorrow.
Yeah, Davey, I think we all have that feeling, Jerry. I know that I kind of wish the season would get underway next weekend.
Well, I sort of do too, John. We've been away for a couple of weeks. I'm ready to go to Daytona, and let's have pole qualifying in the ARCA 200. Benny, I'm ready to get started.
You know, every day's like Saturday. You know, I got to have some Mondays and Tuesdays in my life all of a sudden.
Hey, Daytona's only a couple of months away, and we're going to be there on ESPN for Busch pole qualifying. But right now, we're going to take a break as we get ready to come back and possibly have one more visit with King Richard Petty. Alan Kwiecki still enjoying his night here at the Waldorf.
Burlington Hyundai is offering an introduction reduction sale. We're showing the 1992 Hyundais, including the exciting new 92 Elantra with a 24-month maintenance-free warranty. There's up to $4,000 savings on our 91 models with incentives and rebates. Financing and lease programs are available on all 91 and 92 vehicles, as well as high trade-in allowances. For customer convenience, our service department is open on Saturdays. Stop in at the new Burlington Hyundai on Shelburne Road, the home of the 3 S's, saving, service, and selection.
If you think Champlain College offers outstanding 2-year degrees, you only know the half of it. Now Champlain gives you a choice, a 2-year associate's or a 4-year bachelor's degree in accounting or business management. We call it 2+2. Now, whether you're continuing at Champlain or transferring in, you can graduate with a 4-year degree in accounting or business management. So give Champlain a call and get the whole story on success.
For you in December from ESPN. 12 skips a splashing, 11 men a lashing, 10 dunks a crashing, 9 Broncos flashing, 8 forehands smashing, 7 skiers dashing, 6 golfers cashing, 5 bumps and dings. More skating turns, great big flips, 4 centers too, and a ball ring to start the new year.
Have a ball this holiday season on ESPN.
Back at the Waldorf Astoria here in New York City, the conclusion of the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Series Awards Banquet. And Benny, we've seen another champion crowned. We've said goodbye to Dick Beatty after a wonderful 12 years. But one emotional moment that we've had all year and been able to enjoy to a point is saying goodbye to a legend. How do you say goodbye to Richard Petty?
I don't have any idea. I think that when he first announced the Fan Appreciation Tour, I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But really and truly, it made a lot of sense. It really made a lot of sense because he was able to say goodbye to the fans over a long period of time instead of so quickly. And John Kernan, he's going to be missed, don't you think?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've got a couple of comedians right here, really. Now, Richard, Benny, and Jerry want to know, how do we say goodbye to you now?
Just say goodbye. That's the way it goes. I ain't going too far. I'm going to be right there with them, aggravating them as much next year. In fact, I'll probably be able to aggravate them more because I'm not going to be in the race car.
What do you think about Kyle's comedy routine tonight? You think he's ready to go over to the comedy club?
Well, I've been wanting him to be a race car driver, but I guess he keeps changing around. He was trying to be a comedian tonight, but I think he's pretty serious about his racing. I think he's going to stay with that.
So is that true, Kyle? Are you serious, or are you going to go over to Caroline's here a few streets over?
No, I'm not. This thing, you know how it is. I'm sure the people at home know how it is. It gets drawn out after a while. You got to do something. They didn't want to see my scar. I kept saying I'd pull my pants down and show everybody my scar, but nobody wanted to see it, so I had to throw something at them.
let's talk a little bit about this year. You had a really good year. I mean, a lot of people had said before, well, Kyle wants to be a singer. He hasn't made up his mind to be a race car driver, but you're there right now, and you're ready to carry on the Petty name.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not sure I am, but I think this team is. You know, this Smelly Gala Sabco team is, we run really, really good the second half of the year, and, you know, all the bad years I had, we'd have a bad year and then carry over into the next year. So, like I've said before, this is the best year I've ever had, so hopefully it'll carry over in the next year. And, you know, we feel like if we don't have a shot at being on this stage next year at the end of the year, then we're going to be upset about it, mad about it. So we plan on being somewhere close again.
All right, well, enjoy your weekend in New York. Thanks a lot, Kyle. Jerry?
And the Petties, King Richard and Kyle will be around for a lot of years, but King Richard obviously calling quits here after Atlanta. You know, earlier this year, NASCAR had its most serious loss. William H.G. Bill France Sr., the founder of the sport, succumbed to illness back in the spring. Join us now as we remember this remarkable man who made all of this possible to the tune of his favorite song, Go Away Bay. Here's a tribute to Bill France.
NASCAR could be France. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it was. It could be Big Bill France.
He promoted. He knew how to do it. Fantastic man.
I know he probably got out of his car there and kicked around a little bit, and he said, you know, the weather's nice down here, and I bet I could have a race down here in February.
Without the help of Bill Sr., the guidance, and the faith, ARCA probably would not be where they are today.
And his philosophy was, use what you've got now, and don't wait.
Bill Sr. didn't have two sons, he had three, because I felt like really I was one of his sons too.
Like I called Bill's dad. He's a father to me. In fact, he was more like a real father to me.
In his latter days, you know, his favorite expressions were, well, it ain't all bad. And, you know, he loved everybody. He really did.
I'd say in summarizing him, if anybody could live two lives in one, he did.
You've seen it before. The ones who run with the herd, and the one who always seems to run alone. You don't see him often enough, though.
Just how big is the Ace Hardware really big sale? Really big. For a closer look at this great stuff, hurry into the Ace Hardware really big sale today.
This high-performance drink cleans your fuel system to help maintain peak performance. STP gas treatment, the high-performance drink for your car.
Now, you can own the definitive documentary on the King, a production as hard driving as the man himself, Richard Petty, the legend. This limited edition 2-volume home video includes the official Petty collector's car. And if you order now, you'll receive this free commemorative poster. To order, call 1-800-547-4343 or send $38.95 plus $5 shipping and handling to Richard Petty, the legend, 805B Franklin Court, Marietta, Georgia, 30067.
I drive a race car for a living. I depend on the parts and pieces in my car. And I feel so confident knowing that Pennzoil is protecting the moving parts inside of my engine. Pennzoil's quality and protection give me the confidence I need to do my job without second thought. The protection that Pennzoil offers this race team makes us feel great. That's why I have the confidence to use it on the street and in my race car. I recommend Pennzoil to everybody. Pennzoil, performance, protection, quality.
Teach your children well.
Hey, buddy. You gonna do it alone this time?
Did slowly go by. Don't you ever ask them
When the time comes for a man to choose his own brand of underwear, more men choose Fruit of the Loom than any other brand. The reason is simple. comfort, because that's what real men want. Fruit of the Loom, clothes for the best of your life.
Welcome back to the Waldorf Astoria and the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Award Series. We've caught up with the president, the head man of NASCAR, Mr. Bill France Jr. Mr. France, just an incredible year competition-wise. You couldn't have drawn it up any better, could you?
Yes, it was, John. It was a great year, and you know, when we wound up in Atlanta with 5 guys having a chance to win it, and a storybook finish, you might say, with Alan Kowicki, and I'm sure earlier this evening you folks have explained to the viewers his history of, and he's a perfect example of the American dream, where you take a little bit and work hard and turn it into something like he did tonight. And our enthusiasm really goes with him as he goes into 1993.
Well, I'm sure he'll be a great champion. We know you've got a lot of people to see tonight, and we really appreciate you coming back up here on stage to talk with us. Now we'll send it back upstairs to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, John. Earlier tonight, a number of awards given out prior to us joining this banquet, so we'll take a look here. Paul Andrews, the Budget Team Service Award. Next, Jeff Wilson, the Michigan 77 McCord Engine Builder of the Year Award.
That's the engine builder on the 11 car, the Budweiser Ford. There's Tony Glover, Ernie Irvin's crew chief, Western Auto Mechanic of the Year. Paul Andrews winning the Plastic Coat Finish Award.
STP, Darrell Waltrip accepting for STP Point Fund Awards. Leo Jackson accepting Sears Die Hard Racer for Harry Gant, who couldn't be here tonight in the hospital recuperating.
That means that Harry Gant ran more miles than anyone else.
Alan Kowicki, the Unical Award, $125,000 from Unical Products. Davey Allison, True Value, Hard Charger. Boy, that's appropriate. $25,000 to Davey Allison. Alan Kowicki, the Goodyear Award for $10,000. We'll be back with more of the festivities from the Grand Ballroom after this.
3 good reasons to think Handy when you think Oldsmobile. Number 1, sales manager Mike Bushy's 29-year reputation of backing every sale. Number 2, the warm welcome you get from Handy Oldsmobile service and sales staff. No pressure, no hype, just good solid deals. And number 3, Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering, celebrating 95 years in the making and here to stay. Think Oldsmobile, think Handy, 1 year old and growing. Handy Oldsmobile, easy to get to, easy to deal with. I-89, exit 20 at the end of the ramp.
Explore the unique world of the Champlain Mill, where classic and fantastic gift ideas await.
People come to Murphy's because they know they'll find a unique collection of men's sportswear here. We try to sell items here at Murphy's. We try to match the merchandise to the customer's personality. We provide our customers with clothing that is stylish and comfortable for use year after year. Hi, I'm Ray Murphy of Murphy's in the Champlain Mill. I'd like to cordially invite each and every one of you to shop Murphy's for this holiday season.
Step inside a special world.
Hey, Warren, where do the stars come out on Sunday nights? In your face.
In your face.
In your face.
In your face.
In your face. In your face. In your face.
When the stars come out, ESPN is
in your face. ESPN, Sunday night NFL.
The Rams battle the Buccaneers, Sunday night at 8 Eastern.
The 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Series Awards Banquet has been brought to you by Trinitron XBR Squared Television from Sony. It has been a festive night here at the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria. Once again, for John Kernan and Benny Parsons, I'm Jerry Punch, congratulating our 1992 Winston Cup champion, Alan Kowicki. Let's say so long in a festive manner with some festive holiday music and some sights and sounds of New York City. So long.